If you're in your 40s or 50s and it feels like your body suddenly stopped responding to the things that used to work, the same workouts, the same calories, the same effort, you're not imagining it. This isn't a motivation issue. It's not a willpower issue. And it is absolutely not a personal failure. What you're experiencing here is what I call reverse puberty, a hormonally driven shift in how your body stores fat, handles blood sugar, builds muscle, and responds to stress. And here's the part that surprises most people. The strategies that helped you stay lean in your 30s, like skipping meals, chronic calorie restriction, or doing a lot of steady-state cardio, can start to work against you in midlife. By the end of this video, you will understand what's changing under the hood, and more importantly, you will have a clear plan for how to work with your physiology so you can feel stronger, leaner, and more in control again. Before menopause, estradiol quietly acts like a traffic director for fat storage. It tends to steer fat towards more metabolically safer areas like the hips and thighs through estrogen receptor effects on things like lipoprotein lipase activity, adrenergic tone, and how fat cells develop and store energy. That pattern is generally protective, but as estradiol levels decline, that protection weakens, and fat storage often shifts towards visceral fat, the fat stored deeper in the abdomen around the organs. And visceral fat isn't just extra padding, it's metabolically active. It tends to be more lipolytic, it releases fatty acids easily, more inflammatory, and more likely to produce cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-alpha. It also drains into the portal circulation, sending those signals straight to the liver, which helps explain why higher visceral fat is associated with hepatic insulin resistance, higher triglyceride production, and increased cardiometabolic risk. So even if the scale hasn't moved much, the health impact can change in a meaningful way. Estrogen supports insulin sensitivity in a subtle but important ways. It helps skeletal muscle take up glucose more efficiently and helps keep the liver from overproducing glucose. And after menopause, we commonly see reduced peripheral glucose uptake and increased hepatic glucose output. So the result can look like this. You eat the same meal, but your glucose rises higher and stays elevated longer. And that's not because you suddenly can't tolerate carbs. It's because the hormonal environment that supported insulin sensitivity has changed. Estrogen also supports mitochondrial biogenesis, oxidative efficiency, and muscle protein synthesis. With estrogen withdrawal, mitochondrial efficiency tends to decline, fat oxidation becomes less flexible, and muscle can develop anabolic resistance. In practical terms, that means many women now need more protein and a stronger strength training signal to get the same muscle building response they used to get with less. And if that signal isn't there, lean mass can slowly drift down over time, which makes metabolic health harder to maintain. This is one of the most common and the most overlooked patterns I see. When chronic calorie restriction is layered on top of your life, like work stress, disrupted sleep, caregiving demands, the stress system, the HPA axis, can stay activated. Cortisol rises, and cortisol can increase hepatic gluconeogenesis, disrupt sleep architecture, increase reward-driven appetite, and encourage fat storage centrally. From a survival biology perspective, the body interprets a combined signal as energy scarcity plus threat. An adaptive response to that is fuel conservation, not effortless fat loss. So paradoxically, the harder you push aggressive restriction, the more your physiology can push back. Many midlife women aren't eating enough protein, especially early in the day, and frequent small protein nibbles often don't hit the leucine threshold needed to fully activate the muscle protein synthesis. Without consistent mechanical loading from resistance training, muscle protein synthesis remains low, lean mass gradually declines, and resting energy expenditure drops. So a key reminder here, muscle isn't just aesthetic, but it's metabolic. In fact, it's one of your largest glucose disposal tissues, so losing it can make fat gain easier, even if calories haven't dramatically increased. Insulin sensitivity follows a circadian rhythm, and for most people, it's lowest at night. So when late evening carbohydrate intake combines with short sleep, fragmented sleep, or inconsistent schedules, you can see higher nighttime glucose, more prolonged insulin exposure, and gradual accumulation of visceral fat over time. It's subtle, it's slow, and it's incredibly common. With aging and estrogen withdrawal, muscle becomes less responsive to smaller protein doses. To reliably turn muscle protein synthesis on, many women do best with 2 to 3 grams of leucine per meal, which often means 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein. And timing matters. Protein tends to work best when it's distributed across 3 to 4 meals, rather than say for one large dinner. Muscle doesn't grow because you worked hard. It grows because it experienced tension. Sets performed close to failure recruit type 2 fibers, help counter age-related motor unit loss, menopause and create powerful glucose sink that improves insulin sensitivity. That's why resistance training becomes a core strategy in midlife, not for aesthetics, but for metabolic resilience. Sustained conversational pace aerobic work, which is also called zone 2 training, improves mitochondrial density, increases fatty acid oxidation, reduces intracellular lipid accumulation, and importantly, it tends to do this without spiking stress hormones. That makes zone 2 sustainable, recoverable, and metabolically effective long term. So here's what it looks like in real life. Simple, structured, and doable. Protein pacing, 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal, 3 to 4 meals per day. Strength training 3 times per week. Full body, progressive overload, sets close to failure with good form. Zone 2 cardio, 2 to 4 sessions per week, optional short sprint session once weekly if appropriate. Carb timing, bias carbs earlier in the day or around training. Close the kitchen 2 to 3 hours before bed. Sleep before deficit. Aim for 7 to 9 hours, keep bedtime and wake time consistent, avoid aggressive calorie cuts when sleep is poor, optional MHT discussion, individualized and risk-aware, in conversation with a menopause-informed clinician. Reverse puberty isn't a personal failure, it's a systems upgrade. And when you train the system correctly, your body responds.